Hey guys, Attorney Walter Knott. My apologies. I started the video there for a moment. We didn't have any audio, so I now had to restart it. I'll get rid of the glasses because of the lights up above. Let's get right to the content so that you understand exactly what's going on with this situation. So Huffington Post, as you know, is essentially a news station. Okay, sort of like CNN, Fox News, whatever you want to call it when it comes to news stations. And a lot of these news stations are very egotistical about their power over people because they are the news. They are the journalists, right? This Huffington Post. And I just want to show you guys, because before I get into this, I just want to explain what I want to do with this video is take a moment. Howdy, Jason Hiltz. I want to take a moment and explain to you how my brain processes the readings from these journalists as I read them, so you understand why my brain reads this stuff and laughs so hard that I just have to take a moment to enjoy how poorly these things are written to be completely and horrifically biased. So I'm not doing this because it's the Huffington Post. I would have done it if it was Fox or Blaze or Daily Beast or Daily Wire. I would have done it for any of those. But they came out with it. Huffington Post did it themselves. They chose to do this. So I thought I would do it for them. First and foremost, before we begin this video, please remember to like, subscribe, leave 5-star reviews, leave 5-star reviews, leave 5-star reviews. They're in the comment section below of how to do that. Also, tickle the bell. If you get a chance, we'll go from there. Another thing, because so many people tend to call me up and scream at me during law office hours about videos I make on YouTube, about telling people the truth about how the system is changing, using statistics from the Social Security Administration, and then saying the statistics can't be true because they're horrific. They are true. That's why they make them, because that way they know when the train's getting off the tracks. Also, for the person who will undoubtedly call me up and scream at me from 9 to 5 while I'm at the law firm about how I said Huffington Post was a left-leaning writing group, okay? I don't mean it as a mean thing. I don't mean it as I'm going after them in any way for that we need that. We need those. I'm just saying right now that I'm specifically going to be talking about Huffington Post's article, even though they relabeled themselves as HuffPost, and that they are a left-leaning specific group, okay? A publisher, a journalist group, a whatever. And just to back that up, right here is a list of groups where essentially, just to make it very simple, you can see all the way over here on the left is your Huffington Post group up there, right? You see the little green logo right there? All the way, that is them, okay? So if you think they are not a left-leaning group, this is the bias poll as to where they stand. So when you decide to call me up and say, that's not true, they're not left-leaning, they're all the way to the left. Let's get to it. Here's the article. Let's begin. Huffington Post, even though they produced a bunch of articles and things like that about stimulus benefits as they were coming out, here's what they need you to know. Beware fake news about a fourth stimulus check. There won't be another round of stimulus payments anytime soon, okay? By Arthur Delaney, 1/18/2022, 1:03 p.m. So recent, was just published not too long ago. Okay, so as in a couple of days ago. Washington, nobody in Congress is talking about new legislation to send the American people another stimulus payment, something I've said many, 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 many times, more than the Huffington Post and more than any other channel on YouTube. But that hasn't stopped news websites from posting bogus stories about a possible fourth stimulus check. Now here's the problem. Nobody actually knows when the legislation, a bill, might come into existence to actually pass it to create a fourth stimulus. So when you first read this, I'm going to read the sentence again, pick out the word that should make your ears cringe. But that hasn't stopped news websites from posting bogus stories about a possible fourth stimulus check. The word bogus is very strong. It was also placed in the middle of the sentence. And the reason of that is that they're trying to create one of these situations as you read it, a sort of bell curve, if you will. And that gets your brain going, okay, this story is not about news, websites. It's about bogus stories, the part in the middle, and in the end is fourth stimulus. So as you continue to read this, the bell curve is bogus stories, fourth stimulus, okay? A piece on USA Today's website Tuesday justifies the speculation by pointing to the recent surge in COVID-19 and noting that lawmakers previously sent out 3 stimulus checks in response to the pandemic. Let's look at the sentence again. A piece on USA Today's website. Now, just so you guys know, USA Today represents right in the center category there, okay, essentially the middle guys. They're in the center of the political BS roundtable, okay? In a Garden of Eden. I love it. Thank you. Thank you, good sir. Thank you for the donation of $5. I really appreciate it. So, yeah, and Patricia Connor, thank you for never calling me up in the middle of the day and just screaming at me. And by the way, I've gotten good at listening to people like scream at me from this whole YouTube channel thing. It's weird because if you let them just keep going, after 5 minutes, they always crap out. I've never seen it. They always crap out, and then they ask in a weird, like kind of like exhausted, but like, oh God, are they still there? Then they go, are you still there? Are you still there? And the amazing thing is like their brain just realized that I might not want to listen to them in that moment, screaming at me because I said something that they politically might not agree with, because they have what's called TV anger. Oh, it's this TV rage, right? Like Huffington Post creates. All right, a piece on USA Today's website Tuesday justifies the speculation by pointing to the recent surge in COVID-19 and noting that lawmakers previously sent out 3 stimulus checks in response to the pandemic. Is USA Today wrong for saying that there's the possibility of 4th stimulus check because COVID-19 is really, really high again? They would not be wrong, because that was one of the elements that created the 4th stimulus, or the first stimulus, the second stimulus, and the third stimulus. So you have 3 prior projections of what actually made a stimulus occur. And the major element there, one of them at least, was that there was a massive, ton of cases of people who were sick. So is Huffington Post correct in being judgmental about essentially, hey, you shouldn't be talking about 4th stimulus because there's nothing on the table right now? Or is USA Today correct because the elements to create a 4th stimulus are a brewing? You make the choice. Stories on Newsweek.com have followed a Change.org petition advocating for monthly payments, even though the petition started in 2020. Once again, did Newsweek do the right thing by saying, what do the people want? Change.org is all about the people voting, right? If we got rid of all the politicians and we just had Change.org, we'd essentially have the will of the people by majority. If everybody voted through there, we would have an actual accurate will by majority of the people. But the weird thing is, here's Huffington Post beaten over the head, and I'm doing a little bias treatment there too, going after, Newsweek.com for saying, hey, the will of the people is this, and how dare they create an article about what the will of the people want? Right? Seems a little guy, Huffington Post. Why so angry? All right. Okay, so even though the petition started in 2020, that just adds more evidence to Newsweek.com doing the correct thing, because Newsweek is acknowledging something that's been around, that keeps growing, and is not shrinking. All right. Let's go back. Let's give Huffington Post another chance here. The Spanish soccer site Marca.com has run a shocking number of headlines on the topic. These headlines are trying to convert false hope into clicks. There's no discussion in Washington about another stimulus check. But see, that's the problem with this writing. It assumes de facto that we need the politicians to do something in order to write news about the thing that needs to occur. So, for example, we assume that a bill must be in the works before we can write or make articles about it. Otherwise, Huffington Post journalists, in their esteemed privileged stance, should essentially be able to judge us for not delivering de facto factual news. But how much of BS is that? Think about this. Do ideas start in Congress? Almost never. They start with the people. What does Change.org represent? The people and the choice of the people, right? Okay, cool. What are other things? The elements. COVID's really bad again. There's an extreme increase of galloping inflation causing another financial crisis. All of these things equate to the brewing storm for likely another stimulus. And then add on to that the likelihood that in November, we have 400 plus seats in the House, 30 plus seats in the Senate that are up for, I almost said auction there, would have been a very incorrect term, that are up for, voting, right? The Democrats have to do something to get their morale on the ship up. That's what has to happen, right? The Republicans, isn't it weird how quiet the Republicans are right now? You notice that? The Republicans aren't doing much. Now, that's not to say that Republicans are always active. Republicans, and I don't want to be mean to Republicans here, but let's be honest, guys. They're not great at online advertising. They're not great at creating memes. They're not great. I mean, they're much better than they used to be. They're not great at taking advantage of screw ups on behalf of the Democrats. The Democrats are A plus in each one of those categories. And what do we hear right now? Crickets from the Republicans, which, could be a tactic or it could be a lost opportunity. Next thing. All right. Democrats do have a big social spending bill that would provide child care subsidies, expand access to pre-kindergarten, and extend, whatchamacallit, hold on, let me get back to it real quick. Expand access to pre-kindergarten and extend monthly child allowance payments. But the legislation contains no stimulus checks, and it's totally stalled at the moment. All right, so Huffington just told us the following. The bill that they're backing, that they believe is the thing that we should only be reporting on, right? The only thing we should be talking about is stalled. So then how valid is that bill? Another thing they're saying is that they're going to be giving a stimulus check for childcare stuff, a stimulus check in the form of pre-kindergarten options that are free for people to go and utilize, a free stimulus check for monthly child allowance payment, child care subsidies. You see what I mean here? There's stimulus in it, but they don't mention a fourth stimulus, and therefore Huffington Post is saying, guys, wake up. Any information about something that we've just had 3 about because the elements are similar, but that doesn't matter because there's nothing in Congress about it, should not be considered. That's how my brain sees this. When I read a lot of stuff, I smile so much on the inside. I have a good time in my head. Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat, has refused to support the bill, and one of his least favorite provisions is the one that gives parents a monthly allowance. He's worried about inflation, and he has expressed concern that he thinks too many parents waste the money on drugs. In other words, this man is not about to vote for unconditional cash payments to everyone in America. Again, a terrible, terrible comparison. He's saying these parents are all going to spend it on drugs, right? Inflation. But then at the same time, you look at America and now say, are all Americans going to spend this on drugs? And then you got to question, what is the logic between essentially a parent de facto going to spend it on drugs? Are they legal drugs? Are they illegal drugs? Are they legal drugs for their kids? Are they illegal drugs for their kids? Why are all these parents spending money on drugs? Why is that relevant? Why has our entire our law enforcement system, our judicial system altogether not beaten these drugs? Then you start to get into the relevancy argument. Where does this come from? What's going on? Oh my goodness, all that stuff. So kind of the bottom line we run into here is like, okay, all right, so we're picking on Manchin. We're going to pick on Manchin, and Manchin is our reason why we're not going to see a fourth stimulus. A weird thing about the fourth stimulus check story is that according to Google Trends, interest in the topic is way down from last year. Even then, another check was not on the table. The closest thing to a stimulus check anyone can look forward to is a tax refund from the IRS. Tax filing season starts on January 24th, and IRS can start paying earned income tax credit and child tax credit refunds after February 15th. Child tax credit refunds will amount to as much as $1,800 per child, covering the first 6 months of last year when the IRS had not started the monthly payments. What do I believe? What do I believe? What I believe is that they will probably create something. Maybe they won't call it a stimulus. Maybe they'll call it a rollout. Maybe they'll call it a benefit bump. Maybe they'll call it whatever. It doesn't matter. But I think that there will be some sort of monthly enhancement payment because of how bad this unfortunate galloping inflation truly is for those who are on a fixed income. So the problem I have with this situation about this whole beware of fake news is that it's based off of the identity that if Congress isn't doing it, you shouldn't think about it. If Congress isn't doing it, you shouldn't report on it. And the worst part of this, just so you guys kind of understand what my brain is coming from, when I look at Huffington Post, they're on the way left field, right? They're like, as far as like, I got to look it up and see let me look up options here. Other options are OAN, I don't know what that is, Newsmax, which actually, that one sometimes goes over. National Review, Federalist, Fox, Opinion. No, Fox News is not as right as Huffington Post is left. Daily Wire, Daily Caller, Blaze. Blaze is definitely way over there. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. Like I think of Fox and CNN like here. I think of Huffington Post and maybe like, not as extreme as like, I don't know. Maybe I'd say Newsmax, maybe Newsmax and Huffington Post. Maybe, you know what I mean? But I guess what I would say is this: wherever they're at on the spectrum, because Huffington is such an extremely on the left side group, as opposed to being center groups like AP, Axios, BBC, NPR, Reuters, Real Clear Politics, The Hill, USA Today, The Wall Street Journal, which are actually my favorite ones to read. I wish they would have put Forbes there as well. I don't even see Forbes in any of these other ones. They didn't put Forbes on here. But the point is this, and I guess, awesome. Thank you, good sir. I really appreciate it. Fee fi fo fum. Thank you. I really appreciate the donation. So my point to you guys is this: if they're a left-leaning group, why would they not want to support President Biden passing something that supports the American people? Which is why I've been so pissed at the Democrats, because they took what I felt I was, which is a liberal, and they threw me under the damn bus, threw dirt on my face, and said, "You're not with us anymore." And I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all, because I'm a disability attorney. I represent people who get screwed over by the system day and night. And I've seen how bad the system can be. I've seen how horrible it is. Well, Alvin McClendon, thank you. Thank you so much. Wow, Shirley, thank you. Alvin donated $20. I really appreciate it. Shirley donated $4.99. I really, really appreciate it. Love the pair. My point to you guys is, why would a left-leaning group, journalist, syndicate, whatever you want to call them, a left-leaning group, create articles that purposely do not promote the interests of the American people by giving them a fourth stimulus, especially when there's these horrific, ridiculous inflation problems going on with basic utility items like water, gasoline, eggs, milk. The big thing, they can't get butter, they can't get milk anywhere. They can't get their butters going on, their cream cheeses going on. I mean, this is a crisis. Why would they come out with an article being against the identity of a fourth stimulus? And I understand they're reaching. They're saying, hey, there's a lot of channels out there saying there's a fourth stimulus coming. And I get that. But I go beyond that in this article. They say essentially that, it's not on the table. Don't consider it at all. It can never, and I was there. I was one of those people. It's like, it's just not going to happen. Because I really genuinely believed that they would have inflation in check. I genuinely believe that. And then you can see with my channel, I evolve and I go up and down. And I realize, well, I was wrong. I was wrong before. You know why? I expected that the U.S. Federal Reserve would be able, with capacity to gauge interest, gauge, loans, and have our dollar, barely have a bad inflation situation. With all of the years that the United States has been in existence, with the Federal Reserve knowing what it's doing, I believe they would not put us in a position which would essentially bankrupt some people to the point where they have to sell their houses in retirement. That's what I believed. But I was wrong. They created this galloping inflation, and they could have not allowed it to happen. And then when I see something like Huffington Post coming out saying, let's not give hope to the American people of a fourth stimulus, it pisses me off. If we gave the American citizens all a fourth stimulus, it would not be a bad thing. If we gave just the Social Security recipients, disabled, retired, a fourth stimulus, our veterans a fourth stimulus, it would not be a bad thing. I guess my big thing that I've been more and more angry about while watching these news stations manipulate people is that they sell the following. Number one, they're journalists, ergo they're professionals, therefore their thoughts matter over other people. Number two, they have technology, they have cool shows, they have cool cameras, they have gear, therefore it makes them look more professional. Number three, they have a team of people to research what's going on, to tell us the truth. How many of you are really, really happy with essentially what's going on? How many of you are really, really, really happy with essentially the news that's being delivered to you? So I guess from my perspective, what I'd like to say to you is the following. If any of you are truly happy with the truth that's coming out of those news stations, then ask yourself this: why are their viewership, their readers, shrinking massively, while YouTube professionals, journalists on YouTube, are growing exponentially? Why is this happening? It's called capitalism of the eyes. The eyes dictate what you guys want to watch because you have control of your own eyes. And because you have control of your own eyes, you have the capacity to say what you believe is accurate. So to me, what I think is accurate, the videos that show up on YouTube where somebody was there when the thing happened, not the BS videos we see on the news stations where they change the color and they crop it and they modify it and then they spin it. And I don't believe that stuff anymore. I lost my faith in the news stations a long time ago, far before the whole Biden and the prior administration. Far before that, I lost my hope in it. In fact, James Bond movies, they always come out with a theme of how there's evil people that are going to manipulate the general population. One of their major themes was news story manipulation to make countries fight. The most recent James Bond, what was it about? Creating some sort of viral whatever that would go and infect people that could potentially kill them off. They always come out with these themes that somewhere down the line equate to an evil, horrible plan by whether it's, this classic villain, that you would see in James Bond that's part of a group, or whether it's just a singular villain. But I'll tell you this, the longer I live, the more repetition I tend to see. And the longer I live, the happier I am with who Americans are becoming, because I know Americans, they're becoming more critical thinkers. When I studied to go to law school, I had to take the LSAT. And the LSAT was all about critical thinking analysis. If you could read something, what did you pull from it? What seemed biased? What didn't seem biased? And as a result of that, those people who could pull out the BS from what was being, given to them, they would score the highest. I think Americans, if they were to take the LSAT, are going up and up and up in score. They're realizing how much they've been manipulated. And especially, I think the people that got manipulated the most are minority-based groups, African Americans, Latinos, or religion-based, which is also considered a gene-based or a race-based, which is the Jewish people. My point to you is this: I think these minority groups have also looked at this and said, "Oh my God, this is not good. This is how we ended up not having as much. Why did we follow this?" It's all of them. It's not just Huffington Post. It's all these guys. It's all, look, these are it. These are the people that did this. That's it. Those are all the people that did this. So what I proffer to you as a thing that I'd like you to think about is that, yeah, exactly. Charlton Zimmerman. If you're on a chessboard, right, you have pawns on both sides. Those are the leading characters that battle and sacrifice their lives, to basically do small little things so that the big pieces can make whatever plans they want happening. A government will always take as much as it can from the people before the people decide that the government no longer represents their best interests. That's how America got started. If you recall, it was about taxation without representation. That meaning Americans, before they were truly Americans, they were just settlers back then, they got taxed by a government that was across the ocean, way over there, who did not care about the interests of the settlers. That's where we're at now. The news stations, the billionaires, the politicians, they don't care about the interests of the people. They care about the interests of growing their wealth. And let me explain why. Here's how it works. Wow, Deb Carter, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Deb Carter just donated $5, and I love the little icon, which is ironic too, because I love fruit. So when you guys send me fruit ones, I love those. But here's the thing. I want you guys to understand this. The history of America is the history of overthrowing tyrants. What are tyrants? They're people in power positions with power in the sense of money, troops, whatever, land, however you want to, explain power. They're people who exert their will over lots of people. Let me give you a smaller way to think about it. You ever been at a job where somebody would go ahead and make you feel small, like they were just talking down to you, like they were gauging the corners of the statements that you were making? Every sentence you made, they pulled it apart and they just controlled you. That's a tyrant. It's a little tyrant, but that's a tyrant. That's what a tyrant is. And my point to you is this: I don't think people should have to feel like they're lesser than as a result of them being an American. I think Americans should feel awesome because they live in America. Right off the bat, you are an American. Excellent. Number two, you are in control of your own body and mind, and you are an amazing person. You could do whatever you want. It's a free country. Achieve greatness. That's not the same thing in a lot of countries. And if you compare the thing here, the easiest one to compare to is Afghanistan. It was becoming Americanized, lost it all. Now the women there are living under basically extreme fear. Most of the women in Afghanistan have PTSD now. That's not an inaccurate statement. Sounds, whoa, big when you say it, but it's not inaccurate. The women in America, I mean, look, 50 years ago, they weren't treated the same. They're still not at that equal standing level, but they're getting there. Every generation that comes out, we're getting there. I was talking with somebody who was actually being mean towards African Americans, and I said to him, I was like, man, and this is the same thing as the woman thing, as the black thing. It's a minority base. It's the minority, and then somebody's trying to control them. And I said to him, I was like, look, man, you got to consider something too. We have Martin Luther King Day for the reason that a lot of African Americans practice Martin Luther King Day by enjoying it, celebrating it, for two reasons. A, they want to celebrate who they are, who they've become. And B, they have to celebrate it because they want essentially other people to know that they're not just letting it go to waste. And that person was like, what do you mean? What I mean is, like, they celebrate it because if they don't, it sends the wrong signal to other people that they don't appreciate what they have now versus what they had back in the day. And that was like it didn't do this. And I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? But the point is this: we're all moving towards this, like, treating humans better, treating animals better. I mean, look at how much we've grown from that. We used to be okay with doing horrific things to rare animals. Now we protect them. We used to treat dogs not well at all. Now we're doing a better job protecting them. We're just slowly going up the route. But just to understand, this is kind of my point. I felt that this Beware of Fake News article, the purpose of it was good. Beware of fake news, fourth stimulus, I agree. But the problem I had with it was that it went too far. It was that because there's nothing going on in Congress, that de facto means that no discussion should be occurring about it. And I didn't like that. There should always be discussion. The moment we start to not discuss things, the moment we think about things as that's the thing we shall not speak of, that's the thing we shall not talk about, then we've lost our humanistic basis. We've lost our humanity. If we don't have humanity, then we don't have an opportunity to discuss with each other what makes us special. Nobody's equal. That's why we have equal rights, because we want everybody to be treated equally, to have a fair shot. Is there equality in everything? There's equality in nothing. There's never been equality in everything. There's no way to achieve equality in everything. It's Earth. It's wild. Our judicial system has inequality. There's no way around it. The bars could never argue that there was never any bias. Why? They're constantly coming out with new programs to fix bias. So my point to you is this. I don't think Huffington Post was on stride when they wrote that article because they went too far. And I don't dislike Huffington Post because they actually give me ideas where I'm like, I didn't think about that. I was hanging out at Forbes. Maybe I liked an article from, Fox or whatever, and they come out with something. I go, you know what? That's awesome. But what that is the discussion. And sometimes that creates gridlock. And a guy who unfortunately passed away in Texas, Supreme Court Justice, one of the best ones in my opinion that we've ever had, an Italian gentleman, he would always talk about his love for the gridlock. Other countries don't have gridlock because they don't have discussion. The moment we lose discussion, we are left with, and I want to show you exactly who the demons will be when we lose our discussion capabilities. The only things left when we lose discussion will be these people. That's it. That's all we'll have left. That's it. You lose discussion, they decide for you. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night. I'm going to actually be doing some other stuff tonight. I have to work on a sign that goes on my parents' house, try to help them out and paint it. I want to spend some time with the doggies. I just want to thank you guys so much for being a part of this channel. I want to thank all the people that donated. Fee Fi Fo Fum, Alvin McClendon, I really appreciate it. Shirley, you've always donated. I really appreciate it. Fee Fi Fo Fum has always donated. Deb Carter, I really appreciate it. I will catch you guys later. Have a wonderful night. And this video will probably be demonetized like the last two videos, but whatever. It is what it is. I'd rather you guys see what I'm seeing, because if you see what I see, it's more likely that A, you're going to think more analytically, B, have a better shot getting the benefits that you want, whatever benefits they are. And at the end of the day, we got to do better as a country, because Americans, they don't have all the tools. If we give them the tools, you might be impressed with what they pull off. You know, we didn't become the best of the best by just being sloughs. Everybody, all the genetics in this country, the mixing pot, the whatever, we have what it takes to make magic here. We have what it takes to be the all-star country in the country Olympics. Anyways, guys, I'll catch you a little bit later. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, guys.